This is the fourth of the series of videos of Hawaii being number 1 in the nation that I unwittingly started a month ago. We are number 1 in land use regulations. Highest drop in the percentage of flipping in residential market, and being the worst large market for remote work. Well, nothing to get smiley about. Today's subject matter relates closely to the land use regulations. Let us first take a cursory look at what the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization says concerning this issue. UHERO Executive Director Carl Bonham says this in a video on the UHERO website.
Any way you slice it, Hawaii's regulatory environment is much more restrictive than the average area, the average community, across the country. At the national level, researchers have concluded that there is a causal relationship. And that's driving higher home prices in places that have very extensive restrictive regulations. Regulation can be counterproductive if it places a large burden on developers. While we might prefer developers to provide large units with generous amenities at low prices, requiring developers to meet overly rigid guidelines will result in many projects failing to go forward at all. Many jurisdictions in the U.S. have no affordable housing regulations at all. But even compared to highly regulated markets, Hawaii counties stand out for pervasiveness of affordable housing requirements. Affordable housing requirements reduce the revenue generated by new projects, reducing the incentive to produce new housing.
Hawaii homebuilders wait 3 times longer for permits, on average, than those in other states, which drives up costs significantly. Creating uncertainty and serving as a disincentive to build new projects, says the UHERO brief.
Even when you look at the most regulated markets in the country, Hawaii's permit delays are almost 2 times longer. We're talking about between a year and a year and a half between applying for a permit and getting approval. Long delays for permits have gone on for decades, and efforts to streamline services in recent years haven't resulted in meaningful improvements. They include third-party review of permits, allowing contractors and homeowners to route their residential permit applications through Honolulu agencies for approvals, and a 2018 law that requires permits for 1- and 2-family homes on Oahu to be issued within 60 days. Bonham offers several options to reduce permit delays, such as setting targets for how long it will take to get a permit through the process, and implementing new rules that make it less onerous to get approval for something that doesn't require a variance. Think about a standard building, say a low-rise building going to be targeted at median-income households or below, so it's going to have an affordable housing component. Make it so that it simply is approved. It doesn't have to go through months and months and months of regulatory process.
2 years ago, the Honolulu City Council passed regulations for energy conservation for residential and commercial buildings. Among the new requirements, at least 25% of all parking stalls in new multifamily buildings have to be electric vehicle charger ready, with exceptions for low-income housing. Regulations on stormwater treatment had already increased infrastructure costs for new construction projects. I know a project that spent more money on this than what they built above ground. It makes me wonder if the developer was forced to bear the cost of correcting the inadequate pre-existing infrastructure. And the city and county of Honolulu is creating a new stormwater utility, which will levy a fee on every property on Oahu. Some regulations are necessary. Requiring electric vehicle charging station might not be such a bad idea. But too much water might drown a miller.